Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It is match preview showtime, and I have the pleasure tonight of being joined by Saddlers fan Rob. He can be found on Twitter at the Rob Harvey. I will leave his details in the description at the bottom of the video. Just go and check him out for all things Walsall in the run-up to the game and just generally throughout the rest of the season. Rob, appreciate you coming on. We're recording this Wednesday evening. I know you didn't get back from Barrow until the very small wee hours of Wednesday morning. All for a 2-1 defeat as well.
Yes, not a great trip. I won't be repeating anytime soon. I don't think, not unless we manage to meet each other in the playoffs or something like that. But yeah, it was a nice drive up, not so nice drive back. 2-0 down after 12 minutes. Just what you want when you've drove 140, 150 miles.
Yeah.
But yeah, at least it's ticked off, new ground. So
yeah, that's probably one of the exciting things that I was looking forward to in terms of League Two after a decade in League One was trying to tick off a new grounds, but obviously started picking them out long before cost of living started going through the roof. So I think going to have to be a little bit more picky. And everything seems to be a trip north for us, unfortunately.
You guys have to travel a fair bit. We're quite lucky, really, in the middle, but it's, I don't know, I wouldn't fancy trying to drive to Barrow from down your way.
No, we've got Carlisle week Saturday after we played you guys, so that was one I was looking at. But then I've watched us play a couple of times, so I've held fire on sort of committing to it at the moment. But you said you lost obviously Tuesday night to Barrow by 2-1, but it was your first defeat in the league. You started really well. It's 7 points from 12 available in the first 4 games for Mickey Flynn's men. So not a bad start overall. I assume you're quite happy with 7 points from the first quarter of fixtures.
It's a lot better than I think we would expect compared to last season. It's kind of chalk and cheese. I mean, when I saw the fixtures come out, tongue in cheek, I said first 5 games we'll get 15 points. Obviously for a short while it was going well. First game against Hartlepool, we looked like we were playing like Brazil 1998. We were just all over them, far too good. And as it goes, 4-0 win, could have been 7 or 8. Mm-hmm. Optimism levels went through the roof. And then, yeah, slowly but surely coming back down with a little bit of a bang. Played Stevenage, obviously when it was 40 odd degrees, well, not quite 40, but 35, 37 degrees. Took the lead, scrappy game. You know what you're going to get with Stevenage and Steve Evans. It was long ball after long ball after long ball. Our defence coped really, really well. I'd hate to even guess how many heady clearances we made in that game. And then kind of right at the end, 100th minute of injury time. Referee said got 8 minutes, played 10. Stevenage scored. One mistake by the keeper coming for a ball that he was never going to get. And yeah, 10 seconds later, it was a draw. And then, yeah, on to Barrow yesterday. Optimistic. I don't know whether that's just because it's Barrow. And I don't know, it just sounds like a game you should be winning. But yeah, gone there and 2-0 down within 12 minutes. I can't remember whether the first one was a corner, but within 12 minutes, there was 2 crosses into the box. The second one was definitely a corner. And 2 headed goals. Considering our centre-backs, 3 centre-backs that we normally go with from the start must be 6'4" minimum. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a bit of a shock last night.
Yeah, I suppose when you've got defenders that big, it's not one thing that you think you're going to get caught out on. But it's interesting what you said about because it's Barrow. And I think there was maybe a tendency with the Gills fan base last night for us at home to just Harrogate, obviously predominantly a non-league side. But they were much better than us. We bossed the first probably 20 minutes, could have taken the lead. Jordan Green forced a good save. And then we switched off for the first goal, allowed them to have an easy overload on the left-hand side and didn't stop the ball coming into the box, didn't track the runner. Same problems as Wimbledon first day, where we lost 2-0 despite being in the game for 90 minutes. But Wimbledon's first one was a worldie, to be fair. The geezer smacked it in on the half volley from about 25 yards. But second goal, right back, didn't decide to jump or move or mark or do anything you'd expect from a defender, which is frustrating. And the less said about Tranmere last Saturday, the better, because it was stuff that I'd shout at my boys who I manage on a Sunday, because it was just that ball. And Tranmere didn't even have to work hard. It was just 3 long balls over the top, and we didn't deal with it, and we kept making the same mistakes. Rochdale, the only win so far, which was a clean sheet, probably could have been 3 or 4, and that wouldn't have flattered us at all. But they're the only team that's not picked up a point in the division at the moment. So it says where we are. A lot of people saying yes, the team needs to gel because, like yourselves, I think we brought in 14 new players. But how long do you keep using that excuse? That's the thing, that bit of string only lasts and wears true for so long, and then you have to start saying, well, managers got to be better, players have got to be better. Are we just not very good at the level? Wasn't expecting to come down and win League Two like Cantor, just because we've been in League One for a long time. I don't even think we're in the top 10 or 12 in terms of budget, and that's fine. But like I said, after the Tranmere game on my Monday review show, like, any supporter of any side expects the bare minimum, people to run and tackle and try, be willing to put their body on the line, and there's not been enough of that. And when you're not scoring enough goals, we've scored 1, and you're shipping too many at the other end. It's a recipe for disaster, unfortunately. But that's enough about us. Obviously, there is a Gillingham link with your manager, Mickey Flynn, who did have a spell for us in the mid-2000s, was very good for us. Came in, was it in the summer or was it the end of last season?
Midway through the season, we lost to Scunthorpe away, and obviously Scunthorpe last season were terrible. And when I say terrible, really terrible. Obviously, if you look at the table, I think you looked at the table before they played us, they'd conceded far more goals than everybody else, had scored far less. And we went there and lost 1-0, I think it was. Just remember it being a very cold Tuesday night. Lost 1-0, 7 losses in a row, I think it was. Matt Taylor got potted. And then, Mickey Flynn come in, and obviously transfer window was shut, so he had to work with whatever he'd got, which was quite interesting because obviously another player that I think you guys had for a spell, Osadibe. He ended up playing right wing back for a little bit, and weirdly sometimes he looked okay. But obviously got to the summer, had a bit of a clear out, as we tend to do at Walsall most seasons. 16 new players, but obviously the backdrop to that is we've got new owners, or majority owners at the minute as it is, coming in from America. So it's the first time we've been owned by a foreign investor, if you like, a group of Americans led by a Canadian, who's the co-chairman. Everything's pre-season, everything was positive, like say new owners, new optimism around the club, the most amount of season tickets that we've sold since I think we're in the championship. Which actually, little anecdote for that was we got relegated on goal difference by 1 goal, and I think it was to you guys as well. And we needed Stoke to beat you, I think, on the last day.
Yeah. And then ironically, the season after, we got relegated by 1 goal.
So yeah, that was the last time we were anywhere near the championship. But I always remember that because there was a rumour that Stoke had scored, and we're not massive fans of Stoke, but for a small period we thought they'd done us. But now, going back to Flynn, he's a proper manager, if you like. He's experienced in the sense that he's done the job before. He's not really that experienced when you consider he's only been at Newport, but he did a good job there. Managed them on the budget, got them to the playoffs. I think, was it twice in the playoff final? I think he was the man that a lot of the fans wanted. And so far, so good. I think he's made a few small errors. Like when we played Stevenage in that heat the other Saturday, he made 2 subs. Obviously, you can use 5. We've got Andy Williams up front, who's just turned 36. He was blowing after an hour, but he kept him on, and we took Danny Johnson off. And just a couple of small little things. But yesterday against Barrow, he showed that he's not afraid to make some tough decisions at times. Donovan Daniels is our captain centre-back. We made subs around 37, 38 minutes yesterday because it just wasn't working. He took Daniels off and took Isaac Hutchinson off as well, who's a decent player, but he's been off it the last couple of games. But yeah, it was refreshing and quite strange to see us making 2 subs after 37, 38 minutes. But obviously he's not afraid to do what he thinks is right.
That's it, yeah, because if you're 2-0 down inside quarter of an hour, there's a tendency you just sort of let it drift to half time and the game almost gets away from you. But I say plenty of times, if you're trailing, at least change it up and have a go. If you get beat 3 or 4-0 having a go, then fair enough, but at least you've been seen to be trying. So yeah, I don't think there's many fans that can really complain about that, especially like you say when it's your club captain as well. That is a big call. One name you have mentioned who started off really well was Danny Johnson, hat-trick first out of the season. I think he's got 5 in 4 in the league and 6 in 5 in all competitions.
Yep.
So he's only drawn a blank in one of the games. Seems to have settled in all right.
Yeah, it's nice to have a striker. Forgot what they do and what they look like for a few years. Bit of a weird one because I think we'd agreed a 2-year deal with Mansfield to sign him, and then at the last minute they pulled the plug on that. So now it's a 6-month loan with, I think we've got an option or maybe first option to buy him in January. Not sure what the dynamic is with it though. I think rather than it being an issue between him and the club, I think it's between him and Clough.
Right.
So I think a lot depends on whether he stays at Mansfield, Clough that is, whether or not we might be able to just sign him. But at the minute, obviously given his scoring record at the minute, pay whatever we want for him at the minute because it's been a long time since we've had a natural striker. I think Tom Bradshaw's probably the last one, really. Yeah,
I remember him playing in that side when we were both very good in League One in 2015-16. I think we was both right up the top, weren't we, until probably the last third of the season. And then I know the wheel certainly fell off for us and we finished 9th, but
and us, we got battered in the playoffs by Barnsley.
We didn't even make the playoffs. We had to beat Millwall at home the last day of the season. I hope the results went our way, I think. And I think Barnsley was one of the teams we was hoping had to lose, but we didn't even do our bit. We lost at home to Millwall. But yeah, that's been our best season in the last 7-8 years.
Join the club. It's all gone down
slim pickings since then.
But I'm happy with the signing of Johnson. He knows where the back of the net is. When he came in, he said he's confident in himself that if you put the ball in the box, he'll score. And the first game against Hartlepool, if you look at a couple of the goals he scored there, it's proving himself right, I guess.
Well, yeah, you can't ask for a better start. Like you say, if you've played 6 games, there's only one where he's not notched, then you can't really complain too much. Aspirations for the season, though, because obviously you've got a lot of players, and like you say, there's new owners and plenty of signings, so people tend to run away with themselves a little bit, can be the tendency. But
yeah,
now that you've had half a dozen games to see the side and you've seen other sides playing as well, what is the aim for the next sort of 9 months? Do you think it has to be playoffs or consolidate top half?
If you asked a lot of Walsall fans before yesterday, they'd still be saying win the league by Christmas. But I think hard to say. I think if you look on paper at the players that we've brought in and where they've been, and look at the first couple of games and the performances, there's something there. It's definitely a lot different to the past couple of seasons in terms of, I think, the caliber of player that we've signed is a lot higher. I would say that if we don't hover around the playoffs or get into the playoffs, then that would be seen as a bit of a failure. We've been down here for, I don't even care to remember now, 3 seasons, 4 seasons. And it's been horrendous, to be honest with you. But there's something good coming. Hopefully it's this season. I think we've got the right manager. I think we've got the right group of players. And yeah, I mean, playoffs. I would say playoffs. If we get into the playoffs, it's been a good season.
Fair enough. Yeah, I must admit, I just slightly lower edged 13th. I did a season preview video, but I had us 8th, so what do I know?
Well,
I also said Barrow and Harrogate to get relegated, and they've just turned us over this week. So maybe my knowledge of League Two does need a little bit more research. But we shall see. Still 44 games or whatever it's 42 games to play and plenty of points to play for. But it's not been the most fun start for us Gills fans, unfortunately. We thought we had a good week last week with the announcement, because obviously everyone knows about the fans' relationship with Paul Scally, and it was announced that he was taking a backward step, and we had this new co-chairman coming in to run things called Paul Fisher, and there was a really promising interview on YouTube. And we just beaten Rochdale, and then we went to Wimbledon and won in the cup, and then we went to Tranmere, and then we played at home to Harrogate, unfortunately, and undone all the good work and all the positivity. So it's and I know Saturday's going to be tough. I know you lost in the week, but I think this is probably on paper going to be our hardest game of the first 5, based on squads and stuff like that. I didn't think Tranmere were a good side. I just think they went direct early and we just couldn't cope. But so I'd say Walsall are probably the best team that we're going to have faced in the first half a dozen. be an ultimate test of where we really are, because I said ahead of the Harrogate game, they're probably going to be a similar level to Rochdale, and we were very good against them.
Yeah.
We were good against Harrogate for 25 minutes. Our problem is, though, Rob, is we have these spells on top, then we don't score, and then we revert to type and just go long ball. Then we concede a soft goal, come out second half, we have a go, we don't score, we revert to type, we concede another soft goal, rinse and repeat. Gonna let you play. Oh, carry on.
Going on off what you've just said, I think our problem is if we concede first, because of the way that Flynn wants to play, if we concede first, it's a lot harder for us to get back into the game to win. Sounds a bit strange, but I think it's because if we concede first, we've then got to open up a bit more. He wants to keep it compact. It's like yesterday, we were 2-0 down at half time. And his after-match interview, he said the second half was too open for him. It was more like a basketball game. So he clearly wants to try and keep things kind of tight. And if we concede first, we have to open up a little bit more, which leaves us a bit more open to counter-attacks.
That's our problem. I genuinely can't remember the last time we won a game from behind. We didn't score more than 2 goals in a game all last season.
Yeah.
And one of them was at home to Oxford, and we conceded 7.
That the game where was it Brannigan scored 5 or 4 penalties or something?
4
like
penalties, yeah, and all of them were absolutely stonewallers as well. And I think the last time we scored 3 in a game was March 2021, which is
been a while.
It tells you all the problems that we're having. We're not good enough in both boxes, unfortunately. Let's let you play manager now. Obviously, we're a bit early because we're recording on a Wednesday. I know a lot of the teams do their press conferences Thursday or Friday, especially after midweek fixture. So there's nothing coming out of either club in terms of people that might have picked up knocks in the week. But from your knowledge of who's available, what would your 11 be come Saturday, 3 p.m?
That's a difficult one. He'll definitely have Owen Evans in goal. I'm presuming he's going to set up playing 3-5-2 or some variant of that, which is what he's been doing. So centre backs speak for themselves normally. Obviously, he took Daniels off. Now I don't know whether that was just tactical or whether it was injury. So I'm just going to pretend that there's no injuries. So
yeah, that's fine.
If there's not, then we'd have Donovan Daniels, Manny Month, and Peter Clark at the back at the grand old age of 40 years old now. Left wing back has been Taylor Allen, who we signed for Forest Green. Again, in the first game against Hartlepool, he looked like a world beater. He's had a couple of against Stevenage, he wasn't so good. Last night he was a sub and came on, didn't really do too much. It will either be him or, well, it could be him. It could be Tom Knowles, who we signed from Yeovil. He played in the cup against Swindon at left wing back. Or it could be Liam Bennett, who we've got on loan from Cambridge. If it was me, I would probably stick Taylor Allen left wing back. I'd have Liam Bennett at right wing back because I think he offers more attacking threat than Hayden White, who's been starting there. Your midfield is going to be Brandon Comley, Liam Kinsella, and it has been Isaac Hutchinson, but we've got a 17-year-old lad called Ronan Mayer, who's come from the youth team. Maybe it's a bit early to say, but he could be, if he fulfills his potential in the way that he's been playing, he could be like a League Two Jack Grealish type player. He likes to carry the ball. He likes to make things move. He's quite slim, quite fast, so he'll get knocked about and win free kicks in dangerous areas. So it'll either be Hutchinson or maybe Mayer, which would be his first professional start, I think. And then up front, he's going to be Danny Johnson. I'd be surprised if he doesn't start. And probably Andy Williams, because he got rested. He came on towards the end last night, but he got rested for the game yesterday, really. And if it's not Williams, then Timmy Abraham for a bit of pace up front. But I think the first 11, give or take 1 or 2, kind of picks itself. We've got Jack Earing on the bench, who's one of our better technical players, but he got injured in pre-season, so he's kind of working his way back up to full fitness. He could come into centre midfield. But yeah, it's after the last couple of results. I think after the first 2 games, it was nailed on. Like I could tell you the starting 11.
Yeah, sure, of course.
But the last 2 games, and especially last night, it could be completely different.
We shall see. Yeah. Gills don't seem to have the luxury of that many options, unfortunately. So there's probably going to be a lot that will start that were absolutely awful at Tranmere and absolutely awful second half at home to Harrogate. But
the only thing for us, I think we've got 5 players injured who would be in and around the first team. So you got Connor Wilkinson, who had ACL. He did his ACL last year. Josh Labadie as well, ACL at the same time. We've got, I don't even know how to say his name, Oshin McKenty, signing from Newcastle, young defender, centre back, dislocated his shoulder doing a diving header clearance for Ireland under 19s. He's out. We've got Liam Gordon, who would be the left wing back.
He was one I looked at for when I did like a potential target swing for Gills. I thought he'd be one that was hoping that we'd go after, because I know he was at Bolton, but I think he was born in London. So yeah, I thought that was a really good addition. But
yeah, he's injured, and
he'd fit right in with Gills. To be fair, we tend to injure most good players.
I can't even remember who the other one is, but yeah, we've got 5 out. So
the luxuries of not being able to remember all your injured players and still having options, eh? God blimey.
It'll be interesting when they come back, because if they come back around Christmas, January time, we might not necessarily have to go into the transfer market. And
say that could almost be your transfer window, couldn't it?
That's what I mean. Because at least 3 of them, I would say, could walk into the starting 11 tomorrow if they were fit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when they do come back.
I think from our point of view, we're going to have to match up. I don't think. He said last season he played 3-5-2 when he came in because it wasn't his squad, Neil Harris, and he didn't trust us defensively, so he had to go with what he had. But he said, I want to play back 4.
Yeah.
It's not working. We've conceded 7 in 4 games. We've kept a clean sheet against Rochdale, the worst team in the league. We've kept a clean sheet against Wimbledon in the Cup, but we know what teams in terms of rotation and resting people are in that competition. So Glenn Morris will start in goal. Was very surprised we got him on loan. Second spell with us, probably one of the best keepers in the division still, even at 38, 39. If it wasn't for him Tuesday night, it'd have been about 5-0. I think he'll have to resort to a back 3, which means it'll be the 3 centre-backs that we actually have on the books. That'd be Will Wright, Max Emer and Elkan Baggott would be that trio. I think I'd take Ryan Law out if it was me. We've got on loan from Plymouth. Looks a prospect, played 15 games in League One last season, but has struggled defensively and offensively for us. So he might need a break. So I'd put David Tatonda at left wing back. I'd then be braver the other side and use Jordan Green, because his work rate for a winger is very, very good. So I'd have him from the right. We're unlikely to have Sean Williams with experience and composure in the middle of the park, because he picked up a foot problem before Tranmere, but had to play because of other people being unavailable and then missed Tuesday night. So it'd probably be Ollie Lee and Stuart O'Keefe in the middle of the park. I don't like Ollie Lee as an 8. I think he's better as a 10, but needs must once again. Ben Reeves will play just in front of them, and then I'd go with Mika Mandron to try and be some sort of focal point, and probably new lad Hakib Adelakuna we took on loan from Lincoln on Monday afternoon. Was bright enough for an hour Tuesday night, because I think that'd give us flexibility, because you can almost play Reeves in the 10 and then Adelakuna right up next to Mandron as a pair, or you could play them as almost 2 sort of wider number 10s in behind. The bench essentially be what's left, and who's not injured. We had a kid on the bench Tuesday night, Matty McCarthy, 17, 18, Australian. We need more bodies, but have we got enough budget? I'm not sure. Only time will tell over the next 14 days or whatever it is. Last question before I let you go and go to bed. Score prediction.
Well, it could either be a very, very boring 0-0.
Or maybe take that right now, to be fair.
Maybe the floodgates will open and it'll be 5-5.
I definitely couldn't take that.
I suppose a lot of it from a Walsall perspective comes down to how Flynn sets up. So it depends really who his wing backs are, because for us to be as good as we were against Hartlepool, I think the way he plays and how he sets it up, we need our wing backs, the 10, if you like, and the 2 strikers to be our creative, because we've got Kinsella in the middle, who is probably one of the best in the league at harrying and breaking up play, but isn't going to score many goals. I think I read a stat the other day. I think he's got 1 goal and 1 assist in 9 years, maybe 2 goals. But in terms of harrying and breaking up play is great. But if our wing backs, if one of the wing backs or the 10 or one of the strikers isn't on the game, we tend to fall down a little bit, is what I've noticed.
Okay.
If they play well, I think we could score a few goals, given what you've said and looking at the table and the results that you've had. Hart probably says, going off stats and looking at how the two teams have been and goals and stuff, I suppose Hart says maybe 3-1, 2-3-1 Walsall. My head after yesterday, maybe 2-1 Walsall, if not a 1-1 draw.
We're not far off. I've written Hart says 1-1.
Yeah.
And I wrote in brackets a 2 for Walsall, unfortunately. And I don't like backing against my own club. But I've not seen enough in the last couple of games to suggest that, number one, we'll be potent enough to score enough to win the game. And I don't think we've got the ability at the moment to keep the door shut at the other end, which then means we've got to score twice to win the football match effectively, which we've barely done. We've not won a home game scoring 2 goals since mid-August last year.
That's a while.
Yeah. Rochdale was our first Saturday win in the league for 50 weeks.
Christ.
All of our other wins last season were on a Tuesday. So therein lies the problem. I would snap your hand off now if someone said 1 each. I would take that and run, because it'd give us a building block and some sort of momentum to take into Carlisle away and the Exeter game in the week before that, which is another one.
It'll be an interesting game, because I think both teams have got points to prove for similar reasons, I guess. Obviously, your form's been pretty bad from the start of the season, if you like, but as he's starting to, I say it's a bit of a mini slump, if you like, compared to where we were, 1 draw, 1 loss, but the performances haven't been great. So it could be one of them games where it's very edgy and we cancel each other out. In terms of conceding goals, before yesterday, I'd have said we were fairly solid, but as I said, we've got massive centre backs, but we got done with 2 headers yesterday. So who knows? Maybe set pieces are our downfall. So play for long throws and corners. You might get a few goals.
Yeah, we did that second half Tuesday, and then Mika Mandron missed a header from the middle of the goal, 5 yards out, 2 minutes before they scored their second, unfortunately. But
it's normally
we shall see. I shall be there and believing again come Saturday, and thinking it'll be our day and we're going to put in a performance and make it count, rather than just doing it for 25 minutes and not actually making pressure count and stuff like that. But
well, it took me 9 minutes yesterday for that feeling to disappear. So
at least I was only a 30-minute drive home.
Christ, I felt like 30 hours on the way home last night. But no, it'll be good. I'm not going to be there this weekend. I'm working. I work as a postman, so I very rarely get Saturdays off. But been there a few times in the old Fleur de Lis pub. I think I went a few years ago on a Tuesday night. I think it was maybe 1-1, maybe 2-2. I think Frank Musa scored for us. That's how long ago it was.
Blimey, we had him on trial a couple of seasons, about 3 seasons ago, I think.
But yeah, that was horrific. We went back to the pub after the game. I was driving, but went back to the pub, left at midnight. The Dartford crossing was chaos. I think I got back here at 7:30 in the morning.
Oh, man,
so I'd work at 9, so that was fun.
Oh,
well, that trip's still spoken about now. It was a very, very long day, that was.
Rob, it's been a pleasure, mate. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks very much for coming on. Like I say, I appreciate it. You got back very late from Barrow last night and you need some sleep. Like I said, guys, go and check out Rob's Twitter handle. I will put it in the description at the bottom of the video. I am going to be answering some questions for him as well. So when that's out, I'll retweet it and shout it out for Rob. So you can go and have a read of that if you're interested. I will try and remain as positive and upbeat as possible without sounding borderline deluded. Please keep liking, subscribing. We're just past 2,100 subscribers, which is quite weird. I still find it very surreal that amount of people are willing to listen to me drivel on about football on 3 times a week, especially when there's not much in terms of performances and results to talk about at the moment. I did get a bit downbeat about it after the Harrogate game, but we'll be there believing again on Saturday afternoon. So come and say hi before the game. Be back with Boz and the gang for the match day live. Enjoy the rest of your week. The weekend's not too far away. And until next time, up the Gills.